Jeremiah chapter 13. And most of us here tonight, I'm guessing, and maybe even those watching by the way of the internet, all of us have a good grasp of relationships. I mean, daughters and sons, husbands, wives, grandparents, cousins, all of these relationships that we find ourselves in, they're common experiences. And there's no doubt those of us, I mean everyone, tonight if you've been born, you've got a mama, right? So that's pretty deep stuff, but that's the truth of it. So you know what it is to have one. Now, it may not be perfect, but you do get a grasp of relationships. And relationships are not always defined by presence. In other words, you may have a mother, a father, a brother, but just because they're there doesn't always mean you can define how great that relationship is or however that's defined, but it's definitely there by proximity. The relationships, how close one is. It's one thing to be associated with someone, but it's entirely different to be close to someone. I've come from a decent-sized family, and all of our siblings, some I'm closer to than others. We have the same parents, but there seems to be a closeness with certain ones. And this passage that we're fixing to read, this is what it's about. That's exactly what God is going to portray to the nation of Israel. To be associated with God is one thing, and to be close to God is entirely different. The nation of Israel has been associated with God, but they become distant. They become far away. And church, that is indeed the distinction here. Our relationship with God. It's impossible to, if you will, be a Christian and not be associated with God. But it is very possible to have that association and not be close to God. Let's look at Jeremiah 13. The Lord here is going to give His people this striking, very unusual picture on this subject. And as we look at this picture, I don't want you to consider simply what the nation of Israel is and what they're doing. But really my hope, my prayer, my aim is for you to consider what you are doing. Are you near to God? Or are you just nearby? I want to preach on that thought this evening. Near or just nearby? Let's read it together. Jeremiah chapter 13. Thus saith the Lord unto me, Go and get thee a linen girdle, and put it upon thy loins, and put it not in water. So I got a girdle according to the word of the Lord, and put it on my loins. And the word of the Lord came unto me the second time, saying, Take the girdle that thou hast got, which is upon thy loins, and arise, go to Euphrates, and hide it there in a hole of the rock. So I went and hid it by Euphrates, as the Lord commanded me. It came to pass after many days that the Lord said unto me, Arise, go to Euphrates, and take the girdle from thence, which I commanded thee to hide there. Then I went to Euphrates and digged and took the girdle from the place where I had hid it. And behold, the girdle was marred. It was profitable for nothing. Then the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Thus saith the Lord, After this manner will I mar the pride of Judah and the great pride of Jerusalem, this evil people, which refuse to hear my words, which walk in the imagination of their heart, and walk after other gods to serve them and to worship them, shall even be as this girdle, which is good for nothing. I've already prayed for the message. You'll notice immediately it's a strange picture. It's symbolism in Jeremiah 13. You'll notice this cloth. That is indeed the subject. It's going to represent something. It's got significance to it, this linen girdle. He mentions it there. Go get you a linen girdle. Let's call that the cloth tonight. The Lord instructs this prophet Jeremiah to go and get a linen girdle. It's not random. God knows what He's going to be talking about. He understands the picture, but He's telling this prophet that He wants him to go get it. And it's going to picture, if you will, a sermon. He's going to preach one through the actions of this prophet in this strange cloth. Someone said this one time, a picture's worth 1,000 words. And ain't that true? Sometimes a picture of something can replace over 1,000 words with just seeing this object. So this object is a symbol. In the ancient world, this girdle was a garment that was wrapped up close to the body. That's why he's wanting this linen girdle. It's like a belt of today. Went around there, except it's much different than what they would see today. Belts today, back when I was growing up, we had, big, I remember them Levi belts. Do I got anybody remember that? They were actually belts. They was wide enough, thick enough. They didn't just strap it down with something that was pretended to be leather. It was real leather. But a girdle is not, if you will, like a belt. It's not meant to be an ornament. It's meant to, if you will, be there. It had pockets and things on it, but it was really not something that you would just try to keep up stuff. If you've ever seen the pictures or flannelgrams and stuff like that, those robes and stuff that they would wear back in those days, most often you'd see a little sash, if you will, out in front, and it was meant to be held in real tight to the individual, both male and female. It was an outside, it wasn't an ornament, but it was outside, and it was meant there to hold things tight in that area, to keep things so that they're able to do outside work. So this girdle symbolizes something that's supposed to be close to the body. It worked much like a belt, but not quite exactly like a belt, but this girdle was to be part of everyday clothing. So you could say it was consistently worn. It had a purpose to it. It's not an ornament. As today you see these fellas that got belts that match their shoes. And now we got belts that match our shoes, our Bible, and our tie. I always used to like those ones that had the beadwork on it. So it looked like an Indian sewed it all together until I found out they did it in China and it had nothing to do with that. So I didn't want to bother buying them. But this is constantly worn, and it had more than a purpose just to do as an ornament. It had functions to it. And we could say no doubt that this cloth, this linen girdle, was a chosen cloth. Of course, if this is going to typify the nation of Israel, this cloth, it was definitely a chosen people. And I don't know if you believe this or not. It makes no difference. I believe it enough for all of us here tonight. That's what you were. In fact, He's told you multiple times that He has chosen you. You've not chosen Him. He's picked you out of everything. In fact, came to where you was at. So this cloth is a representation of not only the nation of Israel, but those of us who have been chosen. And those of us who have been called out and saved by the marvelous grace of God. This cloth. God said to this prophet, go get it. And I don't think they had Goodwills back then. Probably not. So I'm guessing that it's a new one. Brand spanking new. Go out and got him a girdle. The Lord said, Jeremiah, the moment he heard it, went and got one. I can't prove that. He might have went and got one out of his closet. I don't know. Maybe he borrowed one from his dad, but he's got one. And it's a chosen piece of cloth. And of course, linen is so important to God. He's used it over and over again. Linen in Scripture has a lot of symbolic meaning to it. It's always significance and symbolized into purity and righteousness. I don't know if you know this, but we're going to be wearing linen stuff up in heaven. He mentions it in Revelation 19:8. He said the saints was granted that they should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. This cloth was chosen by God, chosen to an upright people that He had chosen and sanctified and cleansed. This whole thing is picturing the people of God, a life that God has in it, church, has that reflection of Him in some area. Girdle was worn, of course, by the Old Testament priests as well. You can look at that in Exodus chapter 28, Leviticus chapter 16, and other places. But those girdles were worn by the old Levitical priests, and they were never heavy material. It was also made out of fine linen. And of course, I read one writer said that the reason why God wanted that such a fine, pure linen was to make it airy and light, so that the priest would never feel like their flesh had anything to do with it. It would never become wholesome, heavy on them and make them sweat. Girdles were made out of flesh. It was a chosen cloth. It was a close cloth. It was worn very tightly. Again, around the waist. Never loose, ever. Never fact that it would ever be tied loose. It was always clean, is the word that the Hebrews used. These girdles were to cling around the waist. That was their design. You could say that that's the way God designed the girdle. A nearness to it. Chosen to cling. You can see already the Lord shaping this picture, making it very clear, His sermon, to not only them but us. The girdle and where it represents, chosen to be close to God. Chosen to cling to Him. Not near Him. Clinging to Him. We are His workmanship, created in Christ Jesus. It's in verse 1, you'll notice the Lord says unto Jeremiah, the Lord said unto me, go get thee a linen girdle, and put it upon thy loins, and put it not in water. Now the picture begins to take even more shape. We go from what the cloth symbolizes to why this action is taking place. I mean, to wear something, and we don't know how long Jeremiah wore this. It does say for days that he went and hid it and so on. But, I mean, if he wore it for any length of time and it clung to him, I mean, that cloth's got more stuff on it than a Baptist preacher's tie, can't be. I mean, banana pudding, gravy, bits and pieces of chicken on it. You getting it? But you notice what God told him? Don't wash it. Don't put it in water. I want you to tie it up tight, keep it close, wear it around. This is a picture. Everybody saw Jeremiah's got a brand new girdle on. It's so hard to preach to American, because when they think of girdles, they think it's something that their grandma wore or something, you know. Or, I don't want to go too far, but you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things. So you can just see Jeremiah coming out with this brand new linen girdle on and prancing around the nation of Israel as the prophet. They know him as the prophet. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of stir in the nation of Israel. But here he is. And I mean, you know, he bumps up against somebody and he's got, cherry pomegranate juice on it. You know, I wonder if they make pomegranate pies over there in Israel. Maybe he's got some baby spit up on it from one of the peoples there. Or maybe they make banana pudding over there. I don't know what they did, but everyone's looking at his cloth thinking, man, Jeremiah, why don't you go wash that thing, man? That thing's looking nasty. Used to be real nice when you first got it, but that thing needs to go to the dry cleaners down there in Judea. Get that thing out there. And God said, whatever you do, I want you to put it on, but don't wash it. Do not put that thing in water. We know where he's going, don't we? I mean, everyone knows we pointed our finger at the nation of Israel so much. Everybody, we should be real easy at that. I mean, weren't they a mess? I mean, one moment they're worshiping God, the next one they're throwing their kids into the fire and some Molech. One minute they're praying to God, telling him how much they're going to love him and serve him, and the next moment they're pointing their fingers and cussing him. We know exactly what that's representing. And we can't point our little fingers at the nation of Israel because there's three more staring right back at us. Because ain't that the way we are? In fact, he told John this. He said, write this one down. If you say you have no sin, you're a liar, and the truth is not in you. You don't see that one stitched up on a pillow no place. You don't find that one crossed in it on an F again. But I'm going to tell you, it's still in the Bible just as much as the rest of them verses are. He said, Jeremiah, whatever you do, do not put that in water. Don't wash it. I don't want it clean. I want that thing as dirty as it is. Don't clean it. Don't improve on it. Don't alter it. Just leave it alone. Put it up to you. Get it real clean to you. So the issue here, church, is not the condition it started in. No. The issue is what was done with it. I call this the contamination of the cloth. Again, it doesn't say here how long he wore it. But he was told not to take it off and not to put it in water. Notice verses 3 and 4. And the word of the Lord came unto me the second time, saying, take the girdle that thou hast gotten, which is upon thy loins, and arise and go to Euphrates, and hide it there in a hole of the rock. Man, things are going to get worse. Today the suit clothes for preachers are getting slim. Everything. I mean that. You go to the suit store nowadays and you want to get a suit, it's impossible to get one that don't look like you're about ready to bust out of it. You either weigh 110 pounds or everything's tapered. I asked that guy, do you have any adult pants in the store? He's always laughed. They giggle at me. Yeah, we got some. We just got them on back order. They're always on. I'd like to have something that, doesn't look like I'm 4 years old trying to get into, I've got to be able to move. These tapered legs and all this stuff. Listen, you want to wear it? Wear it. I want to wear something that's referred to like breeches. I want to be able to breathe and move. You get a little spot on something. My wife, she'll panic. It's like some of them suit coats, they ain't cheap. You start spending money unless you're down there at the Goodwill or something, which ain't bad. But you get a stain on that. My wife hurry up and grab it and say, go put that under cold water. I'm like, okay, well, she'll go into the cold water. She's scrubbing out that thing. And it's long before it's going out. So I realized that if you get something on it, you better get it off right away. The worst thing to do is go hide something. You see what I'm saying? God's telling Jeremiah, just get you a good, pure, white linen girdle. Put it on. Tie it up real good and tight. He said, and then I want you to walk around with that. Don't wash it. And then he said, after a couple of days, the Lord said, go hide it. Big trouble picking up. I'm telling you right now, whatever's on there, banana pudding, ketchup, drool, spit up, grease, that's in big trouble if he goes and puts that under a rock, neighbor. He's not going to get that stuff out of there. The longer it sits in there, the more it's going to stay. Some of you are already smiling. You already know where God's going with it. Again, he's talking about the relationship between him and the nation of Israel. Ain't it true? We somehow think that we can hide it, cover it up, and everything's going to be fine. That's what the nation of Israel's doing. They covered it up. They're hiding it. And God is saying, it ain't going to work. Notice the contamination at this point. It's not so much the stains. It's the position now. The condition of this cloth is not the stain as much as it is now the hiding. It's the hiding. And I guess this is what I believe God's trying to say. He says, when you're finally removed from where you're supposed to be close to me, you're supposed to be clinging to me, You're supposed to be tied up real tight like that linen girdle. He said the problem isn't to, if you will, to get stains on you. That, unfortunately, is the natural process of life until we get to heaven. That's not the issue. He said the issue is now you went and tried to hide away. You've taken the stains and the things that need to be cleaned, those things that need to stay there. He said, no, and you've been removed now from where you could have been there, fixed and cleaned up to hide. It's not the stain that bothers God. He knows what we're made up of. It's the hiding that He doesn't like. The garment hid was the problem, not the soil. Stains can be dealt with, but only when they're not covered up. Confessed sin, He said, is cleansed. Unconfessed sin affects the position. Covering up and hiding it is the problem. It is such a hard thing to watch. Look who did it. It said in verse 5. He did. So I went and hid it. That's the sermon. God's picturing the nation of Israel moving from the nearness to God to being close by God. Having an association with God, there's the people of God, that's His people, to no longer being close to God. Can I stop and ask you this question real quick tonight before we go home? How's your relationship with God? I mean, really? Would you consider yourself close by or close? Would you consider yourself near, maybe up under a rock someplace, but close? I've got an association. Or are you clinging to Him? This is the subject. Hiding our failures through concealment, holding back on the stains will only, if you will, keep us from being where He intended for us to be. Jeremiah put it in the rock and removed it from its place, outside of its normal position, a place where it doesn't belong. A girdle belongs tied to the person, not to be hid in a hole by the rock or the Euphrates River. He says in verse 6, many days it stayed there. How many? Don't know, but it's many. The girdle just stayed, if you will, separated. Hiding, letting all of those stains get set in. And the picture now is extremely clear. It's not what it became, but rather how it got there. Tell you what this thing is, don't you? It's a dirty piece of cloth. It'd be a dirty piece of cloth, still clung to Jeremiah. But the problem is, it's no longer clinging to him. It's hidden. I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm trying. Drove 7 hours yesterday after preaching all week. I hope you're getting this. The key to the Christian life, successful Christian life, if there is such a thing, is not how loud you shout. It's not. It's not how happy you can get. It's how close you are to Him. Notice, lastly tonight, the condition of this cloth. In verse 7, Jeremiah says, then I went to Euphrates and digged and took the girdle from the place where I had hid it. And behold, the girdle was marred. Marred. You don't ever hear anybody using that word around these parts. Marred. The word marred is strong language. It's not just stained. It's not just dirty. And obviously, he dug it up under and put it up underneath the rock. I'm sure it was filthy. But Jeremiah didn't notice the dirt and the stains on it. He said, man, it was marred. Ruined. That's the word. Spoiled. Jeremiah said, I went back there and dug it up for many days. Maybe it was 30, 60, 20. I don't know how many days it was. He said it was a lot of days. He said, but God said, go get it. I went down there to the same spot. I hit it, pulled it all up. And he said, when I pulled it out, it wasn't dirty anymore. It was totally destroyed. You know, linen's so fragile. I've always wanted, you ever see, especially down here in the South, boy, they got them linen suits. You know those linen suits? I've always wanted one of them, you know what I mean? Because they're so light and airy, you know what I mean? It's like, wow. You don't sweat, you just, it's onion, all that stuff. Linen, but it's so fragile. You put it in the shed, in the attic, or something like that, and then the moths get to it. I mean, that's just what they do. They'll eat that thing up faster than anything. But Jeremiah said it was marred. Do you know how many people's lives I've seen marred from trying to hide their relationship to God? Do you know how many people over the years you've probably seen whose lives have been totally destroyed? Marred would be the word. Because somehow they tried to fool everybody in thinking that they was close to God. That's what the nation of Israel is doing. They have the name, but they don't have the relationship. They've got all of the wording down, but they are not close to God. And God sends a picture sermon to them and says, listen, you're just like this linen cloth. You used to be tied to me tight. There used to be a moment where me and you were so close. You were so clingy to me. But now you've learned to do it without me. Now you've learned because you're ashamed of the stains. You ain't wearing nothing in my world on the outside without getting it. My wife, bless her heart, I've been picking on her all week because she wasn't there, so I just been picking on her. But it's the truth. She said, honey, you don't have any good clothes because you wear clothes. If something needs to be done, you just go out there and do it in your church clothes. I hate changing clothes. Do I have any witnesses in here? I change my clothes so many times during the day. This week has been terrible. The preacher they had apple pie there. You'd be glad I didn't touch any of it. I know it doesn't look like I didn't touch any of it. That's just all stress, cortisol is what I'm doing. But the preacher he said, I put that apple pie in the seat next to me. Bench on his truck, he said, and my wife said, go slow, preacher. She said, because the apple pie needs to be baked and it's running. She said that, and I looked back there and I said, that pocket full of apple pie. He went and changed his clothes. I said, bless your heart. I hate changing my clothes. But, stains are natural. I mean, unless you're just standing there looking pretty on a shelf. I mean, but it wasn't like God was shocked that the nation of Israel had failures and stains on their body. That wasn't the problem. The problem was they went and tried to figure it out on their own. Trying to hide it up underneath the rock. Trying to make sure that no one else seen it. And the whole time they've been removed from their position. I'm just going to come out with it. God built us and designed us not to be independent from Him. Amen. Not to walk away from Him. No, He knew what we were when He sent His Son to the cross. He knew what we were long before He ever created us. He's made us, designed us for to cling to Him. My question tonight is this. You're the only one that knows how close you are to God. You're the only one that knows. Maybe there used to be a time you would find yourself praying. Maybe there used to be a time you would just open up that book and God would speak and whisper to you. But it's been a while now. Life somehow has dirtied you up a little bit on the outside and you no longer clean, you're running. Maybe things didn't turn out the way you thought that they should have turned out. And now the truth is that you're angry. You're not just stained now, you're angry with God. See, people try to play too much. But anybody that knows anything about relationships, they can falter and fail. Every last one of them. This condition, he said, man, it was hidden and now it's marred. Not surface damage, but total destruction because it was not nearby, not close. It's no longer able to fulfill what it was designed to do. You know, the worst thing sometimes to see is when people are breaking down mentally. We're living in a world right now that is ate up with anxiety. People killing themselves. I'm not talking about small stuff. I'm talking about, or big stuff. I'm talking about people killing themselves over small stuff. Putting pistols in their mouth and pulling the trigger over small stuff. They're ate up with it. And you're looking at people that claim that they know Christ and claim that they've got this relationship, and yet they're living this life where they're trying their best to end it. It's a sure sign tonight that their relationship with God is not. He said this. He said, if you draw nigh to me, I will draw nigh to you. He said, if you keep your mind stayed on me, if you cling to me, take your mind and cling it to me, he said, you'll have peace that passes everybody's understanding. It's when we get away, when we separate ourselves and somehow take the advice of ourselves in the world, and then we start to walk away from Him, thinking somehow that they know better than He does. Because it doesn't make sense. I'm here to tell you tonight, this clinging to Him is the thing that we were designed to be. We were built, made like this girdle, to hold close to Him, stains and all. It's possible tonight to have the appearance, but not the relationship. To lose your purpose. To be present, but not clingy. To be known, but not near. We're made to be clingy to God. We were never meant to live our lives distant from the only stability in our lives. Amen. I guess what I'm saying tonight to you, church, is that a life that no longer clings to God is a life that has lost its purpose. A life near to God is not what we were made for. We were made to be close to God. The invitation is not complicated tonight. It's simple. That's why we've come to church, is to hear from God and respond to it. It's simple. Here it is. You ready? Return. Return to the place where you were meant to be. Cling to God. Have you ever had one of those relationships? A friend maybe? Cousin, sister, or brother? And you were inseparable. My little brother Jeremy, you probably never meet my little. You think I'm a house-ridden fellow? He don't ever hardly move. He goes from work to the house, work to the house. He lives with my mom. He's never been married. Man, me and him were inseparable. I'm almost ashamed to tell you, man, I have beat up a lot of people for the sake of my little brother. You don't touch my little brother. You don't even look at my brother wrong. I mean, me and him were inseparable. We shared the same bedroom. Growing up, we didn't have two separate bedrooms. He slept in that twin bed. I slept in this twin bed. His side of the closet. You could tell mine because mine was neat, color-coded, organized. The shoes were in there. His was just thrown in the floor. Drove me nuts. Clothes half in and half out of the drawers. Me and him were constantly fighting. His Matchbox cars looked like a train wreck. I said, you got a junkyard. Mine was stacked up in the garage. Color-coded. OCD, I know it's terrible.
It is.
I poor wife, my wife's over there saying, help him, Jesus. We were doing the Easter baskets for the kids here this last time, and Barbara was helping us. And I said, now make sure those are all color-coded. She looked at my wife and said, She said, I don't care if them are color-coded or not. But we were inseparable, me and my brother. And you know, with time, distance, we've been separated. It's almost like when I talk to him, I'm talking to a stranger. You ever have a relationship like that? Maybe a school friend. And I had one friend, Tom Beanie. I don't know if he's ever watching on the internet or not. Man, he's got all kinds of junk on me. We were inseparable, me and Tom were. We got in more trouble, car wrecks. Back home, they used to get the Walmart. It wasn't Walmart. We didn't have Walmart there, but we had the Glenn's Market. And the whole parking lot would get like a sheet of ice. And man, we get out there late at night. Grayson, don't listen to this. Plug your ears. And he had one of them little Chevettes. And we'd get out there and get rolling. There was no parking lot. We'd get going real good. And then I'd hit the emergency brake, and we'd do like a bunch of donuts and all that. And one night, Brother Steve, we hit it, and I hit a piece of parking lot, and the thing rolled over. And we turned it off and began to rock it back, got it back on the 4 wheels. It was all dented in. And he's like, my dad's going to kill me. It drove off. We drove away. But you know, he moved to Arizona. I don't know what he is. I don't know if he's even married. Relationships. They just come and go, don't they? And a lot of those relationships end because we're not close to one another. Distance, time. You know what's sad? I see a lot of people like that with God. It's true. TV, cell phones, events, even church, work. You know how many times I've had since I've been here? Oh, preacher, I just can't be on. I gotta work. Oh. And I know church ain't always it, but you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, you're growing distant. You just getting farther and farther away. Just because I believe Ephesians 4:13. There'll be some stuff you won't be able to get this week unless you get here.
Right.
You just know that they're getting away from the place that they're designed to be. So my question for you tonight is this. I'm not asking you to come down here and confess everything that you tell everybody that you're distant. But I would ask you to be honest with yourself. How close would you say you are to him? You clinging like you used to be? Remember when you first got saved? Couldn't help but thank him, could you? I've been in camp meeting all week. I probably went way over what I was supposed to do. They expect something, they're going to give you a check. You got preached for so long. So, are you close? If you're not tonight, I'd figure out one thing. When am I going to get back to him? When am I going to start clinging to him? Father, thank you for the Word of God.